For decades, an unyielding wall of dark sandstone and shale in northeastern Utah has guarded what may be the most disturbing subterranean secret on American soil. Looming over 512 acres of bleached desert and desolate scrubland, the high ridge known as the Mesa at Skinwalker Ranch has stood as an impenetrable stone silent barrier. To the casual observer, it appears to be nothing more than a weathered geological mass carved by millions of years of wind, water, and desert heat. But to the team of scientists, astrophysicists, and field engineers who have spent years measuring every square inch of this valley, the ridge is not a random formation. It is a sealed casing. It is a vault. And for generations, whatever was locked deep beneath its surface actively resisted every human effort to peer inside. Every previous attempt to breach the mesa had ended in unexplained disaster. Heavy industrial drilling rigs brought to the base of the rock face suffered sudden, catastrophic mechanical failures that defied engineering logic. Custom diamond-tipped core bits designed to slice through solid granite snapped, seized, or melted within minutes of striking specific subterranean pockets. Drill operators working near the ridge reported sudden waves of physical distress, blinding pressure behind their eyes, acute spatial disorientation, and severe nausea that vanished the moment they stepped away from the equipment. It was as if the mountain possessed a localized defense system, an invisible protective perimeter designed to keep human inquiry at bay. Yet, despite the intense physical pushback, the data collected from around the mesa continued to point toward a reality that modern science could not ignore. Ground-penetrating radar sweeps consistently returned erratic, highly distorted void signatures, hinting at vast structured cavities buried hundreds of feet beneath the rock face. Thermal imaging arrays recorded bizarre, localized temperature drops, where specific sections of the cliff face plummeted well below freezing while the surrounding desert sand baked in the summer sun. Most troubling of all was the persistent high-frequency electromagnetic signature, a precise, repeating 1.6 GHz signal that seemed to emanate directly from the center of the stone mass whenever human activity near the ridge intensified. The scientific team, led by astrophysicist Dr. Travis Taylor and chief scientist Erik Bard, realized they had reached an absolute crossroad. They could no longer treat the mesa as a passive geological backdrop to mysterious lights or unexplained animal deaths in the valley below. The data was pointing directly into the bedrock. The erratic radio broadcasts, the localized gravitational shifts, and the sudden equipment failures were not random disconnected phenomena. They were secondary effects. They were the external emissions of something concealed deep within the sandstone strata. To break the deadlock, the team authorized an unprecedented high-stakes excavation operation. Moving away from standard surface drills, they brought in specialized high-torque core drilling arrays equipped with real-time seismic monitoring, radiation detectors, and multispectrum thermal sensors. Guided by recent cosmic ray muon tomography scans, which map density variations inside solid structures by tracking subatomic particles passing through them, the researchers identified a specific, high-density anomaly resting 200 feet inside the natural sandstone casing. As the heavy excavation rig hummed to life, positioning its reinforced drill string directly against a major fracture line at the base of the ridge, a heavy silence settled over the command center. Every monitor lit up with incoming telemetry, tracking the drill's progress inch by inch into the dark stone. For the first 50 feet, the bit ground through standard red sandstone. But as the drill bit pushed deeper, reaching the exact depth indicated by the muon scans, the vibration telemetry changed instantly. The grinding noise of steel against rock gave way to an eerie, high-pitched metallic whine that vibrated through the chassis of the rig. The drill had made contact with something that should not exist inside a natural Utah mountain. Telemetry showed that the bit had hit an ultra-dense, highly reflective structural barrier that refused to yield to mechanical pressure. But before the crew could adjust the hydraulic torque, a massive power surge rippled through the monitoring equipment. The baseline 1.6 GHz signal didn't just pulse, it spiked to maximum amplitude, locking onto the exact frequency of the diagnostic probes deployed along the drill line. The mesa wasn't just resisting the drill, it was reacting to it. The vault was unsealed, and what lay inside was about to terrify everyone who witnessed it. The high-energy spike logged along the drill string sent shockwaves through the command center trailer. For years, critics and skeptics had dismissed the strange phenomena at Skinwalker Ranch as atmospheric illusions, radio frequency noise, or exaggerated desert folklore. But as the multi-spectrum drill bit pressed against the unyielding barrier deep within the mesa, the ambiguity vanished. The data on the monitors transformed from a collection of strange anomalies into a terrifying, undeniable physical reality. Inside the nerve center, Chief Scientist Erik Bard and Dr. Travis Taylor monitored the incoming telemetric feeds as diagnostic sensors deployed down the borehole began relaying real-time video and environmental metrics from the newly breached void. What the high-resolution optical cameras captured was fundamentally impossible according to standard geology. The entrance surrounding the void was not jagged, fractured, or crumbling like natural sandstone. Instead, the rock face was completely vitrified. The intense localized thermal energy released during the contact had instantly melted the surrounding quartz grains, fusing the stone into a smooth, seamless, dark ceramic lining that swept downward into the mountain. It looked less like an underground cavern and more like the entrance to a precision-engineered structural conduit. As specialized fiber-optic snake cameras were carefully fed deeper down the 200-foot borehole, the environment inside the newly opened tunnel began to react violently with the surface atmosphere. Environmental sensors attached to the probe logged an instantaneous localized temperature crash inside the shaft. Within seconds, the ambient temperature dropped from 70 degrees Fahrenheit to well below sub-zero, causing thick frost to form rapidly across the glass lens of the diagnostic camera. This was not a passive cooling effect caused by deep subterranean airflow. The readings indicated a massive, active thermodynamic sink, a localized physical state where thermal energy is rapidly drawn out of the immediate environment, leaving behind a pocket of extreme sub-zero cold. Simultaneously, the baseline 1.6 GHz signal, which had spiked the moment the drill bit struck the barrier, altered its internal structure. On the wideband spectrum analyzers, the wave was no longer a simple repeating pulse. It began modulating its frequency step in microsecond intervals, mirroring the diagnostic radio frequency sweeps being broadcast by the surface monitoring equipment. Travis Taylor highlighted the alarming reality of this telemetric link. The signal was not an unmodulated background noise or a static echo. It was behaving as an active, high-bandwidth data network that was dynamically adjusting its broadcast parameters in direct response to being probed. As the diagnostic camera pushed past the vitrified entrance of the void, the probe's directional magnetometers registered an even more astonishing anomaly. The background magnetic field of the Earth, which naturally penetrates all rock and soil at a predictable baseline, suddenly collapsed to absolute zero Gauss inside the chamber. The magnetic field was not merely weak, it had been completely expelled from the interior of the shaft. In theoretical physics, the absolute expulsion of a magnetic field from a specific volume of space is known as the Meissner effect, a signature phenomenon that occurs exclusively when a material transitions into a state of room temperature superconductivity. The research team was standing on the threshold of a discovery that threatened to upend the foundational laws of modern physics. A room temperature superconductor requires no artificial cryogenic cooling to sustain zero electrical resistance. If a massive superconducting structure was buried inside the Mesa, it meant that immense electrical currents could flow endlessly through its core, without losing a single watt of energy as heat. Such a system would be capable of generating unprecedented electromagnetic forces, manipulating localized gravity fields, and deflecting physical objects on a scale never before witnessed by modern science. The researchers were no longer just drilling into natural Utah stone to find old mineral samples or geological anomalies. They had officially unsealed the outer protective casing of an active, hyper-advanced, energy-dense system operating directly beneath the Uinta Basin. The Mesa was not hiding a static ruin. It was shielding a machine that was actively monitoring its own structural integrity. And as the core drill pushed deeper into the vitrified darkness, the intelligence behind the installation began executing its next operational response. The realization that an active room temperature superconducting system was operating inside the Mesa transformed the expedition from a scientific excavation into a high-stakes emergency operation. If the structure concealed within the rock was capable of expelling magnetic fields and maintaining zero electrical resistance, any further mechanical drilling carried extreme, unpredictable risks. Pushing steel bits or high-voltage lines into a zero-Gauss void wasn't just exploring an unknown cavern. It was physically interacting with an active, high-density power matrix that had remained isolated from the outside world for centuries. To avoid triggering an explosive energetic feedback loop or damaging the delicate structural balance inside the mountain, the team halted all heavy mechanical drilling. Instead, Dr. Travis Taylor and Erik Bard deployed an autonomous ultra-lightweight diagnostic crawler equipped with non-contact laser telemetry, high-resolution LiDAR arrays, and quantum magnetometers. As the crawler rolled slowly through the vitrified entrance shaft, its multi-angle LiDAR scanners projected millions of microscopic infrared light beams against the mirror-like ceramic walls. Inside the command center, the incoming spatial data instantly assembled into a real-time, three-dimensional digital map on the primary monitors. The team watched as the narrow, circular conduit expanded dramatically after 200 feet, opening up into a staggering, perfectly symmetrical subterranean vault buried directly under the central mass of the ridge. The vault was immense, a chamber spanning over 100 feet across, completely encased in the same dark vitrified ceramic glaze. But it was what hung suspended at the exact geometric center of this subterranean hall that left every researcher in the room completely motionless. Floating in midair, entirely unattached to the floor, ceiling, or surrounding walls, was a massive 30-foot spherical core. Optical sensors showed no support cables, no structural pillars, and no magnetic levitation tracks. The dense metallic-like sphere was held in total, perfect physical suspension, hovering silently in the center of the zero-magnetic void. As the diagnostic crawler edged closer to the perimeter of the hovering sphere, its onboard thermal cameras captured a startling thermodynamic paradox. While the subterranean vault remained locked in an extreme sub-zero environment, the atmospheric envelope directly surrounding the floating core was superheated. Thermal sensors logged temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Fahrenheit just inches from the sphere's dark surface. Yet remarkably, this extreme heat did not bleed out into the rest of the cold room. The energy was locked within a paper-thin spatial barrier, completely contained by an invisible field that prevented thermal transfer into the surrounding atmosphere. The implications grew even more terrifying as the crawler's atomic clock telemetry was transmitted back to the surface trailer. The ultra-precise atomic timekeeper mounted on the crawler chassis began to lag relative to the twin atomic clock running inside the surface command center. For every 60 seconds recorded by the surface clock, the clock positioned near the hovering subterranean core logged 59.998 seconds. It was small, measured in fractions of a millisecond, but in the domain of physics its presence was undeniable. The core was generating a localized time dilation field, slowing down the progression of time itself in its immediate physical vicinity. The team was looking at empirical proof of localized spatial warping. The suspended sphere was not a passive relic or a natural geological anomaly. It was an active, zero-mass core, a functional gravitational engine generating its own internal mass differential. The erratic radio bursts, the localized gravity shifts, and the mysterious aerial phenomena that had haunted Skinwalker Ranch for generations were not isolated, random occurrences. They were the outward emissions of an active, subterranean spatial engine anchored deep beneath the desert soil. The discovery of a zero-mass core generating localized time dilation beneath the Mesa escalated the operation into classified security territory. Brandon Fugal, owner of Skinwalker Ranch, joined the research team inside the command center alongside specialized defense contractors and scientific advisors to analyze the incoming data streams. The metrics confirmed what many had quietly suspected for years. The phenomena recorded in the Uinta Basin were not transient atmospheric glitches or psychological illusions. They were the direct, physical manifestations of an active, hyper-advanced spatial propulsion and communications installation buried directly beneath the Earth. During the emergency operational debriefing, Dr. Travis Taylor presented a comprehensive spatial overlay that combined the crawler's LiDAR scans with deep cosmic ray muon tomography. The composite data revealed that the hovering 30-foot sphere was not an isolated engine resting in a single subterranean chamber. Extending outward from the base of the cavernous vault was a massive network of secondary vitrified conduits, identical in scale, and ceramic glazing to the primary entry shaft, branching through the deep bedrock like an underground circulatory system. These subterranean pathways did not end within the property lines of the 512-acre ranch. Seismic array data showed them following major geological fault lines across the Uinta Basin, plunging miles into the Earth's upper mantle. As the team mapped these deep structural pathways, wideband radio frequency receivers logged a dramatic transformation in the baseline 1.6 GHz signal. The transmission was no longer broadcasting as a simple, unmodulated carrier wave. It expanded into a complex, multi-layered digital data bus, carrying dense streams of binary-coded sequences interspersed with precise spatial coordinates. Chief Scientist Erik Bard cross-referenced these coordinate streams against orbital mechanics models. The vectors mapped directly to specific stellar pathways, deep space Lagrange points, and distant planetary orbital planes. The subterranean engine inside the Mesa was actively routing data through the Earth's global fault line network, using the planet itself as a planet-sized antenna and distribution node to broadcast real-time telemetry into deep space. The implications of this cosmic connection sent a profound chill through the research trailer. The installation beneath Skinwalker Ranch was behaving as a master relay node, a planetary transmitter built to monitor terrestrial conditions, process high-density energetic data, and maintain an active link with distant galactic coordinates. The localized time dilation, the room temperature superconductivity, and the floating zero-mass core were all functional components of an interstellar communications and spatial manipulation engine that had been operating silently beneath the Utah desert for millennia. As the briefing drew to a close, the leadership team established strict new security and operational protocols. With the entrance shaft unsealed and the central vault exposed to surface diagnostics, the risk of external interference or accidental energetic feedback had elevated exponentially. Brandon Fugal authorized the immediate construction of a high-security surface station directly over the mouth of the tunnel. Equipped with environmental seals, electromagnetic shielding, and 24-hour quantum magnetometer arrays, this baseline facility was designed to protect the integrity of the subterranean site while allowing the scientific crew to begin systematic, non-invasive diagnostic communication tests. The investigation had reached a point of no return. The exploratory era of tracking fleeting lights in the night sky was officially over. The scientific team at Skinwalker Ranch was now standing inside the doorway of an ancient, hyper-advanced planetary interface, preparing to take the first cautious steps toward establishing direct communication with the intelligence operating the machine hidden beneath the mountain. The decision to establish a permanent, shielded surface station over the newly unsealed tunnel ushered the expedition into an intensely delicate operational phase. Physical entry into the central subterranean vault remained far too hazardous. The extreme sub-zero temperatures, localized magnetic flux expulsion, and microsecond time dilation measured around the suspended zero-mass core meant that sending human personnel down the vitrified shaft could trigger an unpredictable, high-density energetic feedback loop. Instead, Chief Scientist Erik Bard and Dr. Travis Taylor designed a high-frequency diagnostic array intended to establish a direct, two-way telemetric handshake with the subterranean installation using its own baseline broadcast frequency. The scientific crew deployed custom-engineered high-gain dipole antennas and phase-locked microwave transmitters across the mouth of the tunnel and along the upper rim of the Mesa. These surface arrays were configured to broadcast a structured, mathematically pure signal sequence directly down the ceramic-lined conduit. The transmission was constructed using universal cosmic constants, prime number progressions, fundamental geometric ratios derived from pi and the Golden ratio, and the precise radio frequency transition of atomic hydrogen. The core hypothesis was simple yet profound. If the machine buried inside the mountain was an automated intelligent relay node, it would recognize universally constant mathematical logic and acknowledge the signal through its internal digital transmission bus. The moment the surface transmitters were brought online, projecting their focused mathematical sequence into the subterranean void, the response from inside the Mesa was immediate and astonishing. Wideband spectrum analyzers inside the surface command center did not log a standard signal reflection or physical echo. Within microseconds of receiving the surface transmission, the baseline 1.6 GHz signal altered its internal carrier modulation. The subterranean core intercepted the prime number sequence, processed the signal's mathematical architecture, and transmitted the exact same sequence back to the surface monitoring array, inverted, phase-locked, and embedded with a complex high-density secondary data layer. It was an undeniable empirical confirmation. The machine beneath Skinwalker Ranch was responding to the team's diagnostic probe in real time. Simultaneously, spatial monitoring arrays recorded a dramatic physical reaction throughout the surrounding stone strata. The deep 8.1 Hz extremely low-frequency vibration, the baseline hum that had rattled seismic sensors for years, locked into precise harmonic resonance with the 1.6 GHz signal. On the surface above the Mesa, portable quantum magnetometers tracked localized magnetic field lines, bending and twisting into concentric, ring-like geometric patterns that expanded outward from the ridgeline. The expansion of these magnetic rings created a localized protective envelope across the entire 512-acre property, temporarily deflecting ambient atmospheric noise and solar radiation. Inside the command center, the team watched the real-time telemetry screens light up with unprecedented clarity. Every unexplained light flash recorded in the desert sky, every sudden magnetic drop, and every radio frequency anomaly observed across the valley over the last several decades was executing as part of a single, highly organized, automated command loop. The system was maintaining its operational integrity, balancing its internal thermal matrix, and actively managing its deep space telemetry pipeline. Brandon Fugal, Dr. Travis Taylor, and Erik Bard realized that they had crossed a monumental threshold in human scientific history. The technology buried deep inside the Uinta Basin was not a dead relic, an ancient tomb, or a natural geological anomaly. It was a functional, highly responsive planetary node designed to process intelligent signals. With the telemetric handshake established and verified across multiple independent sensor networks, the researchers at Skinwalker Ranch had officially opened a direct channel of communication with an active, non-human network, setting the stage for a dramatic unraveling of the true origin and purpose of the spatial engine hidden beneath the mountain. With the bidirectional telemetric link fully locked, the physical environment across the Uinta Basin began to change rapidly. The continuous exchange of high-density binary data between the surface diagnostic array and the zero-mass core stabilized the 1.6 GHz transmission into an unbroken, ultra-high-throughput digital carrier wave. The erratic, unpredictable signal that had baffled researchers for decades was no longer a mystery. It was an active communication pipeline processing billions of computational cycles per second. As the supercomputers inside the command center worked to map the incoming data streams, physical anomalies around the unsealed tunnel escalated to a cinematic crescendo. High-definition thermal cameras and multispectral sensors trained on the cliff face recorded a magnificent, luminescent glow seeping through the solid sandstone strata. The stone itself, subjected to the intense 8.1 Hz harmonic hum and the phase-locked microwave signal, was converting internal structural pressure directly into visible light through large-scale piezo-luminescence. The dark face of the mesa pulsed with a soft, rhythmic violet light, expanding and contracting in perfect synchronization with the data packets streaming from the subterranean vault. Directly above the mesa, inside the famous triangle sector, the atmospheric distortion reached unprecedented clarity. The vertical energy column connecting the subterranean vault to the sky 5,000 feet above ionized the surrounding air molecules, forming a shimmering, circular optical aperture in the atmosphere. Star fields viewed through this aerial distortion appeared visibly magnified and spatially shifted, providing clear optical proof of a localized gravitational lens bending light paths as they pass through the active zone. Inside the command center, Dr. Travis Taylor and Chief Scientist Erik Bard decoded the deepest layers of the signal's embedded subcarriers, revealing a discovery that redefined human history. The mathematical sequence transmitted by the subterranean core was not just broadcasting operational telemetry. It was outputting a vast galactic atlas of precise spatial vectors and cyclic astronomical timing sequences. When the supercomputers cross-referenced these vectors against deep space star charts, the coordinates aligned directly with distant planetary systems, deep space Lagrange points, and major cosmic energy corridors, proving that the master node beneath Skinwalker Ranch maintains an active, real-time relay extending across the galaxy. The research team stood in awe as decades of frontier legends and speculative folklore dissolved into hard, quantitative physics. The installation beneath the mesa is an operational spatial engine and interstellar gateway, a planetary relay station built to monitor Earth's tectonic evolution, manage hyperdense energy channels, and transmit real-time telemetry to distant star systems. As the data loop reached total equilibrium, Brandon Fugal and his team realized that the ultimate threshold had been crossed. The ancient installation hidden inside the mountain was wide awake, actively broadcasting, and waiting for humanity to decipher the final message embedded within its code. The realization that the zero-mass core beneath the mesa is an operational deep space relay node brings this extraordinary investigation to its ultimate, mind-bending climax. What began for generations as local desert legend, whispering of phantom lights in the night, mysterious cattle mutilations, and an invisible force guarding the Uinta Basin, has officially been transformed into an empirically verified, fully documented scientific reality. Skinwalker Ranch is not merely a hotspot for strange atmospheric glitches or fleeting aerial anomalies. It is the primary surface interface for an active, hyper-advanced planetary installation embedded deep within the bedrock of Earth itself. Unsealing the vitrified tunnel and establishing a real-time telemetric handshake with the hovering sphere did far more than solve a localized Utah mystery. It shattered our fundamental understanding of modern physics, opening a door that can never be closed again. The staggering empirical evidence uncovered during this landmark excavation establishes three ground-shattering truths that redefine our place in the universe: an engineered subterranean complex, the 12-foot vitrified conduit, localized sub-zero thermodynamic sinks, total magnetic flux expulsion, and the suspended 30-foot zero-mass core confirm the existence of a room-temperature superconducting installation concealed inside the mountain. A planet-wide energy network, secondary vitrified channels running along deep tectonic fault lines, synchronized with matching 8.1 Hz harmonic pulses, prove that the mesa houses the master relay for an interconnected planetary grid, an active cosmic gateway, the real-time phase-locked response to surface mathematical probes via the 1.6 GHz signal demonstrates that the installation is an intelligent, fully operational engine actively communicating with deep space coordinates. We are standing on the precipice of a new era for human civilization. The core questions surrounding Skinwalker Ranch have permanently shifted from asking whether these phenomena are real to deciphering who constructed this incredible subterranean network, how many millennia it has operated silently beneath our feet, and what will happen as its deep space relay reaches full operational power. The ultimate answers to human origin, spatial physics, and our cosmic destiny are no longer hidden among distant, unreachable star systems. They are waiting for us right now, pulsing inside the heart of the mountain. If this incredible journey into the newly unsealed Mesa tunnel expanded your understanding of the unknown, hit the like button to support ongoing scientific exploration. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive documentary into the world's greatest unexplained mysteries. Now we turn it over to you. What do you believe is the ultimate purpose of the subterranean engine beneath Skinwalker Ranch? Is it a defense shield, an interstellar portal, or a planetary monitoring system? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching.